Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Trisha and this is Kieran.
Hi guys, so today, as you can probably see by our hoodies here, we're doing our review of Scream 6 with spoilers. The embargo's lifted now, so we can talk about it openly. Before we get into what we thought of this film, you may have saw our initial reaction that we did when we came out of the cinema for the first time. We've seen it a second time now, just because we were a bit unsure about it. I was very confused.
I think it was better watching the second time because we could observe more, because we knew what's going to happen now, so we were like, I'm more analysing and observing more. Less
room for disappointment the second time as well. So what we'll do very quickly just before we go into that is we'll just quickly recap what we thought of the previous films, just because we're new to doing this. This is our first video review. She's very new to this. I've been a fan since the 90s. So I'll just go through very quickly. Yeah, you were actually born when the first film came out, God. Just very quickly, the first Scream, one of my favourite films, I think the best horror film, in my opinion, ever made.
I agree.
Yeah, fresh, smart, revolutionary. It saved a genre at the time that was dying. Excellent characters, a lot of depth to them, which aren't normally in horror films, and a fantastic opening scene, which could have been a film by itself.
The writing was really well. It was very well written as a killers and everything. Yeah,
for the first time you had, spoiler alert, you had two killers, which was very revolutionary at the time. So yeah, love the first Scream.
Yeah. The second one, so what do you think about the second one? So you should start because you're the fan. So
yeah, so the second one, I don't like it as much as other people do. Some people say it's superior to the original. And it's one of the greatest sequels ever made. I don't think so. I think it's a very solid film.
It is. I think it was just because the mother was a killer.
Yeah.
So the mother was a killer, so it was about the revenge. I think it was different from the other one. From the first one, I think that was a different concept, I guess.
Yeah, it was just a straight up revenge story, I guess. And it was paying homage to Mrs. Voorhees, who was Jason's mother. But I thought it was a very solid film, great performances again, very intense sequences in it, which we'll talk about. We'll parallel those with the ones in this film. But yeah, solid film, but I don't think it's one of the best.
It wasn't one of the best because there were some bits that I didn't like. But for example, you know, it's in the second killer, even that wasn't that really strong one.
Mickey,
I think he was just there as a killer.
A lot of people like Mickey, but yeah, he doesn't show up for about 40 minutes until the end, so it's that was pretty poorly done. But again, I won't be too harsh on it because they had to do a lot of rewrites because the script leaked initially. So I think there was 4 killers initially. So they had to do a lot of rewrites. So I think when you consider that as well, it was actually better than...
I think overall it was.
It was. You should give it props for that, actually. Yeah. Third film, I'm actually quite forgiving on the third film. A lot of people say it's the worst of the series. I think it's, as well as being really funny, I think it's actually quite creepy. I think it's the creepiest installment, dealing with like the ghost of Sydney's mother, and I find those sequences very creepy. And it goes into the seedy side of Hollywood. It was actually very ahead of its time, you know. Touched on the Me Too movement before there was a Me Too.
And what about the killers? What do you think about the killer?
Well, the killer, so there was one killer in that, which,
because he's a little bit disappointed with that. You don't like the fact that much, right?
I don't like the fact that they did a cheat, basically, which they also do in this film, where they killed, the killer was Roman, Sydney's half-brother, which was also a retcon as well. I don't like how they retconned that and made him the mastermind behind Billy's killing spree. That took away from Billy and Stu a lot, I thought, and was quite unnecessary. But I guess at the time they were just making a trilogy, so they wanted to wrap it up. And again, this was affected by rewrites a lot. Initially, Stu was supposed to come back in Scream 3, but because of the Columbine killings, they had to rewrite the script last minute. And so again, we got something, I think that was quite good considering last minute rewrites. There's nowhere people call it really bad and really horrible and the worst of the series. It may well be the worst of the series, but I don't think it's a bad film by any means. None of the films in this series are bad, which is quite remarkable considering horror films. It's hard to make one good horror film, let alone a whole franchise of them.
That's why it's a franchise now, because of such good films, you know?
Well, no, there's a lot of series like, you know, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. They will suck as a franchise.
That's what I'm saying, but then that's why there's a name. That's why people were so excited for this one also.
Yeah, which we'll get into. Scream 4 I really liked. Again, thought it came quite a few years after the third one. I thought, again, it was very much like the first film in that it was very fresh. We hadn't had a slasher film in a long time until it came out in 2011. So again, I felt it evoked the original quite a lot.
What about the killers?
I found the killers amazing. I loved Jill as a killer. I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it. You know, because it was supposed to be like what Scream 5 eventually became, which was the old characters handing off to the new. And Jill was touted as, or supposed to be the new Sydney. So I was expecting her to just fill that role.
I think
conventionally fill that role, but they twisted it and made her the killer. And I remember that was the first time where a killer was revealed. My jaw hit the floor.
I had a different opinion about that because I knew who the killer was.
Somehow she guessed it. She's very annoying. So
it wasn't that mysterious for me because the main thing is who's the killer. So that I didn't like the fact that because from the really start, from the really beginning, she didn't like Sydney. You could see it. So I thought she's the killer. It was really obvious.
I didn't have that intuition, unfortunately. So
I think it's like poles apart on this one. We are because your jaw dropped, and then I was like, oh, she's a killer. And he was like misleading me. He's like, no, she's not, but then she was.
Yeah, but I think you're a minority in that. I think a lot of people were shocked by that. I remember people constantly saying how shocked they were by Jill being the killer. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was. I viewed it very much like the first one. She looked like a killer. She did, actually. In hindsight, you can say that, yeah.
Overall, it was funny and nice. I liked it.
It was fresh. It felt Scream was like fresh again. But unfortunately, it didn't do well. And then we had another 10-year gap, which leads us to Scream 5. Which again, I liked. It was basically a retread, and it was paying homage and referencing the past a lot, referencing the first film specifically a lot, which a lot of people I know didn't like. But I liked it. I knew why they did it, because they were saying, okay, we're starting again a new trilogy and we want to show the fans that we can do Scream properly. And I thought they did. I thought the killings were very good and very brutal.
The characters were not that strong in that film.
No, they weren't. Apart from Jenna Ortega's character, everyone else
and the fact that Dewey died, that kills me.
Oh, that was one of the good things. I like that it had the balls to do that, though.
Yeah.
Which, again, we'll get to this film. I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people didn't. Some people really loved it and some people really disliked it.
But okay, which film is your favorite, like among all?
Scream. The original.
Of course. Yeah.
Not to be confused.
Okay, leave the Scream then. 2, 3, 4, 5.
2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say 4.
4 with the. Yeah.
I don't know, 4 or 5. It's a mix between them. I think 4 is more effective overall. Yeah, because I have some gripes with 5.
I think for me, first one is of course Scream was the best one, and then the rest they all are on the same level.
Yeah, they're pretty much it's pretty consistent. That's the main strength of this franchise, is that it's consistent. Until we get to Scream 6. Now, if you saw our initial thoughts, you know that we were very mixed to negative initially after the first viewing.
I think it was really negative, and of course on the negative side more. And then that's why we like, oh, we should watch it again, because we want to give it a review. We should be like really honest, and we should observe more.
Something wasn't sitting right with me about my feelings towards it, and you should never come out of a film, let's be honest, you should never come out of a film with mixed thoughts going, or trying to like it, trying to justify it to yourself. You shouldn't feel that way. That means it's not good. And I accepted that it was a disappointment. It was very underwhelming considering the other films and the trailers for this film.
Oh, there was actually trailers. Yeah,
we actually discussed this before we went on camera, that the trailers were actually better than the film. They looked really dark and really fresh and really brutal, and this just
even the way it was shot, the trailers, the way they showed the trailer, it was really good. And then this one, let's go. Let's discuss it.
We'll discuss it. So we'll go through our pros first, what we did like about it, because I think there's actually more cons. So the opening kill. I thought it was really surprising. So basically the killer leads the opening kill character into an alleyway, guts her, and then it sets you up for that. As we all know, there's Ghostface raises his knife and the music builds, and you know that it's gonna transition to the title card. This time that doesn't happen. Yeah,
and as I mentioned to you earlier, that the people next door, they will actually got their cameras out because they thought it's going to be a title tag. It was nothing.
It was nothing, and then even more surprising.
Yeah,
that was shocking, and even more surprising after that was the fact that Ghostface takes his mask off to reveal himself to be Flash from Spider-Man.
Yeah. And then I think you thought that then, it's gonna go like that only, without the mask.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Well, not without the mask. I knew they couldn't do a whole film like that, because this film would be hated.
You know that who the killer is then, right?
Yeah, and I was like, okay, movie, where is this going?
And then I think when that he took the mask, then I was like, oh, he's not the killer, because then it's obvious, because that's the main motive of the film. The killer, who is the killer in the end. So that's why I thought maybe he's not the killer.
Yeah, but it was just so different that it completely threw me off, and I didn't think about anything else afterwards. I was like, what the hell is happening? And then sure enough, this killer was planning to be the killer for this film. He was planning to go after Sam and Tara, but then he is then subsequently killed by the actual killer in his own apartment. So it's supposed to be
boyfriend.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be two film students who are gonna like continue Richie's legacy and create a sequel to Scream 2022. But yeah, then the real Ghostface shows up and guts him, and then we get that title card. Just before the title card though, another thing that shocked me was Ghostface's line, which has now become iconic already, which is where he says, "Who gives a about the movies?"
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a completely different Ghostface. His MO is nothing to do with stab or horror films. He doesn't care at all.
Yeah.
This is something else. This is something personal. And then again, that hooked me even more. I was like, wow, this is going to be fresh and different.
Because I think in the other films they're like mostly fans and
Yes, fans and people who are like either trying to make a live sequel or a horror film of their own to get famous.
But this was like, yeah, he hated it.
He was literally like,
he or she hated it.
Yeah, I think it was he. I think it was, again, spoiler alert. I think it was Detective Bailey.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah, doing that. But Gavin Mitchell from Friends. That's all I kept thinking of whenever I saw him.
I think the characters' development, it was really good. So the characters, all of them, Sam, Tara, then what's his name, Chad and Mindy. They I think it was like really strong characters this time, and even the relationships they had, it was more built up.
Yeah, it felt a lot like the first Scream, in which there was a focus on the characters and developing those characters and giving them depth. I really enjoyed that. I didn't expect there to be a lot of that in this film, but I'm so glad.
For example, Sam's acting, it was really good this time.
God!
If you compare it to the last one, it was really good.
I thought people were too harsh on her in the previous one. I didn't think she was that bad, but yeah, there was a massive leap. I think now when I go back and watch 5, I'll realise, how much she's grown since then. And then
Tara, I think they gave her in a way, authority, not authority, but a bit of space, more space. Like
she had more agency in this, I thought she was strong in the previous one, despite being in a hospital bed for most of it. But
she was. The thing is, she was stronger than Sam in the previous one.
That was an acting thing. I think her performance.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying in that way. So so Sam's acting in the last one, the character she had, I think she's supposed to be really strong, but then something was missing. This time it was really strong. You could see that she suffered. She's dealing with things. She
really came into her own, and I can really buy her as the new face of this franchise, along with Jenna Ortega. Chad and Mindy were fine.
Yeah, I think they're bringing Chad more out now.
Yeah, I really like him. He's so likable as a character, and the actor as well is very likable.
And I think also the relationship development of Tara and Chad. So there's something new building now in the next one, and they'll show. I'm sure they're going to show that.
There's a budding romance. Yeah, but the camaraderie between the four was really well established, and they felt like a family now. Yeah, the core four were great, and I love that title that was given to them as well.
The core four, I think it was in a way emotional because their relationship is so strong now.
Yeah, it's weird because it's amazing how, and they just did that within this film as well. In the previous film, those characters were really underdeveloped and their relationships weren't developed.
They were blaming each other to be the killers in the last one, remember? In the house situation. Yeah, so even this one, it was like, no, how can we be the core four? So it was really different, you could see.
It was good. They as well as like Sam's development as a character, all of their developments as characters came a long way just in this film alone, so that was very impressive. The writing from that standpoint was very, very good. So the acting is, so Sam was great, Tara was great. Quinn,
her acting was really nice.
Was really good, but we'll touch on that when we go into the cons, because we're going to touch on her character
and
quite a lot there. Detective Bailey, so Gavin, I can't remember, I think the actor's name is Dermot Mulroney.
It's what you can say.
I'll just say Gavin from Friends. Everyone knows him as that. But he was really good.
He was really good,
He gave a great performance,
I think
especially at the end.
Especially, on his face, you could see, when he was saying to Sam that, I think he said something, he in a way, he threatened her. Like if you do something to my family.
Yeah, if you
mess up with my family, I'll say.
Yeah, you die.
Yeah,
trying to avoid swearing in this.
Yes.
But, you could. That was a nice foreshadowing. Because I don't think we mentioned it yet. Actually, the killers in this film are Richie's family. It's Quinn,
Detective Bailey, and the brother. What was the brother's name?
Oh, the brother, man. He was such a lousy character. I can't even remember his name.
I think you have written, Ethan?
Ethan, that was it. Yeah. But that wasn't even his real name.
Oh, yeah, we don't remember because he was good for nothing.
The references to 2, 3, and 4. film 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Because usually the first film is always the one to be referenced.
They did in a way by showing Billy. Okay, they do it all in because
they have to. Yeah.
They have to.
Especially because of Sam's connection to him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this time it was really good 2, 3, and because of the shrine also.
Yes. Yeah.
Because of that, it was more references of 2, 3, and 4. Also, you know, the costumes and everything, the knives and everything was there.
It was cool.
It was really cool.
There's a lot of Easter eggs. I love the bit where Kirby is going through all the killers, like and they have a picture from each of the killers from each film.
I think it was her. I think it was the killer's shirt or hoodie, and then she actually touched and it reminded her of everything happened to her.
Yeah, she touched Jill's.
Yeah.
Because Jill was her best friend, so you could see how much trauma she'd gone through, and there was some PTSD there. It was really subtle though. Props to Hayden Panettiere for her acting in this as well. Yeah, I forgot to mention her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved the whole all the references. I always love it when they do callbacks, especially in this franchise. It's all about nostalgia as well and going back to the past. So they did that very well in this. But I felt like this could have been saved for another film. But we'll touch into that.
What, the shrine?
The shrine and all the references. Yeah, it didn't quite make sense with the killer's MO.
Sam and Billy's relationship, the way it was. I think it's more developing now too. Even their relationship. Yeah, she's actually more connected to him now.
That's one thing when I came out of Scream 5, I was like, I love the bit where she kills Richie in the end because it was so violent and so brutal.
Yeah,
she has the instincts of a killer, and I was like, wow, this is so interesting. If she's the main character now, I hope they explore that more, and they really did that to the max in this film.
It did. Kirby.
So Kirby, I guess we touched on that a little bit already. Again, Hayden Panettiere, was great to see her back. I loved Kirby. She was a fan favourite of everyone in Scream 4, and there was always a rumour that she would come back, and I love that the directors actually did that for this film and brought her back, especially because we were missing other legacy characters, which we'll go into now, but I really liked her. I thought she slipped right back into the role.
I think she was really good in this film. I really liked the character she had in this film, but it's not something that she's the best character. So I'm not a big fan of her.
She's not. I mean, you're fairly new to it.
Yeah, because that leads to something else. I miss Dewey. I actually miss Sydney and Dewey, both of them. I miss them, and especially I think as a cop because she was FBI, right?
Yeah.
She was FBI, so I miss Dewey then because he has something else. He has a different aura.
Oh, of course, you can't compare the two.
Exactly, no one can be like Dewey. So.
But if anyone's gonna, because I feel like the Kirby is in here now to kind of fill the void of Dewey.
I think no one can fill the void of him.
You can't fill the void, but I think
he'll be a really strong character. She'll do really well. I think she'll be a really strong character.
Yeah, I think there's no one else better to kind of try and fill that void, if you will. There's no other character that can do that.
Yeah,
and I think Kirby's a good choice for that. I don't feel like she was forced in here or it was unnecessary or it was like fan service.
It flowed really well with the character.
Yeah, I think her appearance was...
I think if the detective wasn't the killer, then it would have been... Then there would have been like, would have been a tie between them, but at the same time she has a connection with the past, like she had a trauma, so I think it's better. I think no one...
It was nice seeing it because I always wanted to see what her thoughts were on her best friends being the killers in 4, and they touched on that, and there was no dialogue about it, but you can tell the way she referred to them, there was still a lot of animosity and betrayal and hurt there. There was a scene of when I think Tara, when Tara and Sam had an argument or something, and then Tara went upset and she's like, I'll get her, and then Tara and Kirby, they're sitting there having a conversation about, I think she's talking about her trauma or whatever. You could see her face. That was a really good shot. Great
the acting was really good at that time. I really like that.
So I know you miss Dewey.
Yeah.
Did you miss Sydney?
I missed Sydney, but at the same time, when I was in the film, I actually was in the film at the same time. Dewey I miss in bits because he was a different character. Okay, Sydney,
she was Dewey.
I do. Sydney is she's the main character, you can say. But then the thing is now the main character is Sam.
Yeah.
So someone is trying to fill the void, but no one can. Still, no one can. But I don't know. There's something else about Dewey.
You just love Dewey, I think.
I do.
This is quite controversial, but I didn't actually. When I was watching Scream 6, I didn't actually miss Dewey or Sydney. Weirdly, there were moments where they referred to the characters, and I was like, oh yeah. But then I didn't actually miss them like I thought I was gonna, because this franchise is so dependent upon them and was so centered around them. I didn't know how this was gonna go, but. Yeah, weirdly, I only missed them after the film was over. Then I really thought about it, and I was like, "Oh no, wait, I do miss them."
That we will tell why.
Now, three other massive pros of this film were the quote-unquote intense sequences. So the grocery store, which you saw extensively in the trailer, the ladder scene, and the subway scene, which you saw extensively in the teaser trailer. That was the scene. Yeah, great. I haven't seen sequences like this in a Scream film since the second one, actually.
I think the ladder scene, oh god, that actually... Ooh, I was sweating in that scene. It was really good.
I knew she wasn't going to make it. I mean, she was pretty much half dead anyway.
She was.
He was gutting her.
I know. Oh god, that was... the thing is that I love Scream, but I love these kind of films. I love horror films, but at the same time, I can't see when killer is doing something.
Yeah, she was like...
I can't face it. It's not because I'm scared, it's just because... I feel like, ooh.
Yeah, but man, major props to this film for that. This film actually mirrored Scream 2 in a lot of ways, and that was one of the ways it did it very well.
Yeah.
Though I have to say, it wasn't as intense as promised.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I felt like Scream 2's sequences were much more intense, like the scene in the sound booth when he's chasing Gail through there, and also the car scene where Sidney has to crawl over Ghostface and get out of the car. Those were much better, but what can you expect? That was Wes Craven, and they don't call him the master of suspense for nothing.
But that's what the thing is, that everything was promised, but nothing matched with expectations in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but one thing that definitely did was Ghostface. He was very menacing in this. They did say that this... he wasn't the most brutal. We'll get into that because they did promise it was going to be the most brutal Ghostface, and it was going to be the goriest Scream film, which it wasn't. But Ghostface was very, for the first time I felt he was such an efficient killer.
You could actually see, you know, like he was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
But you could actually see something, like you can feel his emotions.
Yeah, you could feel the anger within him in this one. I really like that. It was, and I loved the decayed mask as well.
Yeah, it was, that was nice.
So basically what the killer is doing is leaving a ghost face mask from each killer from the previous films at the crime scene, and obviously the ones from 1, 2 and 3 were quite decayed. And it just looked awesome, and it matched the vibe of that killer as well. The killer was
I really like that fact.
Yeah, he was very aggressive and very, like, I remember in the older films, Ghostface is kind of like quite bumbling and he falls over quite a lot and gets beat up a lot, but here he was like very efficient. And obviously Roger L. Jackson with his vocal performance again killed it, no pun intended. The other thing was I felt that this was actively trying to be something different from the previous films. So while there was a lot of callbacks and references, this one was moving in a different direction, and like I said, it set that up in the opening scene with you know, who gives a F about movies, and the fact that the killer's MO had nothing to do with Stab or the franchise before. So I really liked that.
I really like the fact that they try something different, but at the same time it leads to something else. I will get back to that in the cons, because it leads to, you know, trying something else. It leads to some cons on, so we'll tell you.
And this is something that I didn't actually realise when I watched it for the first time. The whole, I think, commentary of this film is the whole idea of movie franchises. Now the trend is to subvert expectations, and I think they were commenting on that a lot in this film, and I think that's something that it was trying to do, but in the end it didn't fully go for it. It only half did it.
Only half.
And this is where I'm so mixed now, and this will lead us into the cons.
I think after watching the second time, it's a little bit on the positive, but it's still 50-50.
We're going to the other half now, which is
the cons.
The cons.
I think I'm going to speak a lot more in this one.
I'll let you lead with the first and main con,
the killer,
the killer reveal
of Quinn. So I think it was cheating. Firstly, it wasn't. It's a mysterious film. It has to be suspense. They cheated. I think the writer were really lazy. Do you think the same? I think the writer was really lazy to write like who the killer is gonna be, because they killed Quinn. They actually showed that the killer killed Quinn. So she got stabbed really brutally, and then I think the body was thrown out of the room and on Mindy. I guess it was on Mindy, and then it was next to Mindy. So no one. And I think the detective, he mentioned afterwards, the face was spoiled or something like that. He did, right?
Yeah. So her father staged the killing. So Gavin staged his daughter's killing and put prosthetics on her. I think they explained it like that. But still, no matter what you say about that, it's still a cheat.
It was a cheat.
They basically did what they did with Roman in
But
Scream
I
3.
think in that they were just like, okay, 5, 10 minutes or 15 minutes gap. In this one, it happened in the beginning.
It was a lot worse.
She was
yeah.
killed in the beginning, and right in the end, she's back. She's the killer.
Yeah, it was as much as you can compliment the writers for the character development and how they developed everyone's relationships.
Yeah.
They lacked in the mystery so much, and this was a massive drawback. I didn't even like this in Scream 3. I was going to say in the beginning when we were touching on Scream 3 about Roman, how he was made out to be dead. Gail even checked his pulse and then gasped, so it was very clear that he was dead. And then suddenly, a scene later, they reveal him to be alive and to be Sydney's half-brother.
That's why I said he was disappointed with that one.
Yeah, so
killing. Yeah.
So yeah, this was that, but a lot worse.
It was really, really bad.
Though having said that, despite how they handled Quinn's character writing-wise, performance-wise, really strong.
Good, yeah.
I always have a big gripe with the killers in these films when they're revealed when they act too over-the-top crazy suddenly.
Especially the girls.
Yeah, I don't like that a lot. I mean, Mrs. Loomis was fine, Billy's mother.
Yeah, she looked like a psycho killer. I think this was the same with her, Quinn.
Yeah, and Jill was fine. She was a bit rocky. Sometimes she was very convincing, and sometimes it was a bit too over the top. And then Amber from the last film was horrible. Her performance, it was very clear that, I'm acting crazy.
Yeah.
This one, Quinn, played by Liana Liberato, I believe it is. Great performance. Yeah, it felt very naturalistic crazy, and her rage felt very real. And
because it was the rage for the brothers killing, because Sam killed Richie.
Yeah.
So she was a sister, and you could see the emotion, you could see the rage in her.
You could feel the love she had for her brother. It was very well done.
It was really well done. Yeah.
And props to her for performance, but unfortunately,
that she was the killer.
Yeah, the fact that she was the killer is a bit of a drawback because of what they did previously. If
she wasn't, that the killer didn't kill her, then it was fine.
Yeah.
Then it would have been really good.
Yeah.
But then the fact that she was killed, I think they should have killed the brother. Because he was good for nothing.
Yeah, the brother's character was awful. Yeah. I don't even know what to say about that. He was basically just like a sex-starved dork, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There was nothing else to him really. They pointed at him throughout the entire film as well.
It was really clear because they were pointing. So I thought, he's the killer, because when you point at someone again and again, just to divert the attention, because they're saying he's the killer, so he won't be.
Yeah.
That was a tricky thing they did. But I was like, he can be a killer. But the thing is that he's really nothing to be a killer. He's good for nothing. So.
And he wasn't so present in the film as well, like Quinn, even though he was alive throughout the whole film. He wasn't really at the forefront a lot, so he was just kind of in the background. And then I thought Detective Bailey was great, I have to say.
Yeah, he was so good.
I'm going to be biased towards him because he's Gavin. I've just realised that. No matter what happened with him, I really loved him, and his performance was great. He was oddly scary as well at the end when he was revealed.
Yeah.
He wasn't, again, over the top.
I think, I was saying that earlier to you that he was really scared. Maybe, I'm not realising, maybe it was because he lost Richie first and he lost both of his kids.
He saw all of his
maybe
kids
that's why he's scared now, because he has nothing now.
Yeah,
maybe
that's
that can be the case, right?
That's true. And as disappointing as the reveal was about who the killer is, I really still overall dig the fact that it was a family.
Yeah.
It's the first time you've had 3 killers in a Scream film. I like that, and I like that they were a family.
Taking revenge.
Yeah. But also, again that leads me to another gripe, because it's also very similar to Scream 2, in which Billy's mother is taking revenge against Sydney for Billy's death.
But that's what they've done now. They've it's like really similar to the other ones.
Yeah. So again, it was fresh, but at the same time, it wasn't. It was there were still elements of it which were stale and done.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm a bit mixed on this film. Is it's going so far and then dropping the ball at the last minute.
Because when they were like pulling the mask, I was like, ooh, let's see who it is now, because I couldn't guess. I just had an idea, like the boy, the good for nothing boy is the killer, the Ethan. But then after the other two, I was like, who is it?
You could never have guessed. Yeah, well, we didn't even know there was a third one, so you were just like, who's the other one?
Yeah. When Detective Bailey, he called Sam and said, be aware of Kirby, then I thought he might be the killer, because why would he say that?
Yeah.
Then it struck me that he can be a killer in the two of them. But when the third one came, I was like, who is that going to be? Is it going to be something we are not expecting and really, really good?
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was Quinn.
I have to say, I like the way Sam dispatched all of them as well. I think actually Tara killed Ethan.
Yeah.
But the way Sam killed Detective Bailey as well was amazing. That's what I wanted to go into. She actually became Billy.
Billy, yeah.
She was wearing his costume, his mask, and she actually made a Ghostface call.
Yeah. It was really
that was so good. That's what I wanted to see, and I think they're going to go even further with it in the next one.
That was the time when Detective Bailey, he started actually sweating.
Yes.
When the phone call was made, it was made from Sam's phone, so it said Sam.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so when he was speaking, he was sweating literally.
And his whole MO was he genuinely believed that she was a killer and that she was like Billy.
He was scared.
It was genuine fear. Yeah. I really like that because his whole motive, Detective Bailey's whole motive, was the fact that he genuinely believed Sam was a killer.
Yeah.
Even though he knows that she didn't orchestrate the Woodsboro murders, he knew that she was capable of killing in the way that she killed Richie.
Yeah, that's why the phone call. Also, he was again saying, "Oh, so you're back to your basics now. Your real face. Your real face. You have it in your blood, etc., etc."
Yeah. So he was genuinely afraid of her, and I like that. And that was his whole motive for doing this as well, because I think when he heard Richie had died, I think he even said this in the film. It really got him when he found out how Richie was killed and how brutal it was, and then he was like, "She's a killer. She must be stopped."
Yeah.
So yeah, he was genuinely terrified for his life at the end, and God, that was so awesome.
I really like, and the way she killed him.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was so good.
That was good. Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I didn't turn my head. I was actually looking at that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see what's she gonna do now, because she was developing to be a Billy now, you can say.
Yes.
So that's why I was like.
And I really think in the next film, this is just going sidetracking a little bit. I think my theory for Scream 7 is that she's going to be an anti-hero Ghostface.
Yeah, just like
who is going to be hunting the actual Ghostface in the film.
Yeah.
That would be a really interesting route to go down.
Yeah, we discussed that last time. We both think that's going to happen.
And then maybe that's a way to bring Sydney in, so Sydney has to kind of reel her in and stop her from becoming like Billy. I think that's where they'll go.
Because in the the end scene when she has Billy's hoodie or jacket with the mask.
Yeah.
So I think she's still in that confused mindset where like she's still confused. Should she go to the dark side?
Kind of like how we are about this film.
Like she wants to go to the dark side, but at the same time she doesn't want to. I mean, she's leading there, but she doesn't want to go there.
Yeah.
And then whenever she is leading there, Tara comes and then boom,
pulls her back.
And that leads to the Tara and Sam's relationship.
Yeah.
I think we didn't touch on that. It was actually really well developed now.
Yeah.
The way when Sam actually when Tara said let me go, and she did. That says a lot, In the
beginning, Sam's very oppressive on Tara and kind of trying to control her life and interfering too much. So that's a whole arc that they go through. Next con. This was a massive one for me. Gail's character development is completely destroyed. All the beautiful development she had in 5, where at the end she was like, she was going to let Richie and Amber die in anonymity and write a book about Dewey instead. I thought that was a wonderful growth for the character, and it was so emotional and so beautiful. And in this, what did they do? She wrote another book about Richie and Amber, and that's why the events of this film
happened. And I think
happened.
in the book she said that Sam is the killer or something like that.
She said that she was mentally unstable, basically like glamorizing the fact that she's Billy's daughter.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just regresses right back to how she was in Scream 2, basically.
But at the same time, they didn't do justice with Gail's character. That's the fact I don't like.
Yeah, she felt a bit shoehorned in there.
Yeah. I mean, Gail should have like more screen space. She had nothing. Actually, for me, she had nothing because she's a really strong character, and she's like in a way like second main character of the film.
Do you think she should have died in this?
You know what? I actually don't want her to die, but at the same time, the way she was stabbed.
She should have died.
She should have died, but and also they left they didn't show where Gail is in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that she's alive, but they didn't gave no kind of wrap up to her character in that film. It was kind of very left up in the air. But it's the middle part of a new trilogy, so I guess you can give them leeway. They'll probably address it later on. It's the middle chapter, so we won't be too harsh on that.
I mean, I think, but Gail should have more more screen space. And a bit more stronger. Okay, she's a strong character, but then a bit more. Yeah, I like the fact, when she says that I'm really good at my job. I really like that fact.
She kept ripping on Kirby, and she kept saying, "Oh, Kirby, how is she the FBI? She's a kid." Yeah, and she was like, "I'm 30 now."
Yeah.
But yeah, that was another thing, going about what you said about Gail, who should have died because of her injuries. It's another thing that pissed me off about this film. The film seemed like it was afraid to kill people. And you should not feel that way in a Scream film, because that really undermines Ghostface's threat. It feels like everyone had plot armor, especially the core 4. While I do like all the characters, someone needed to go.
Yeah.
And everyone was stabbed, very fatally, and somehow just continued to get up and walk their way through the film.
Tara and Sam, they were like stabbed, but not like that brutally. but Chad, Mindy, and Gail.
Yeah.
They all were. But I think because no one actually died in this film, in a way.
No one
did.
That was their idea of subverting expectations. I think in the end, Mindy even says, "Oh my god, we will survive. Just a twist of a twist." And while, okay, fair enough, it's addressing the whole idea of subversion of expectation. In a horror film, you need to have stakes.
You need to, yeah.
And this, in hindsight, I mean, when you're watching it, you're very into it and you're very worried about the characters and if they're going to die or not. I was genuinely scared for all of them. So that was great, but then, yeah, when you watch it on repeat, you're like, oh man, there's no stakes in this film at all. And, you know, in the amount of dread they set up in the trailers and throughout the film as it was progressing, it was really disappointing that no one was killed. I think there was only 3 deaths, right?
No, yeah, exactly. And that was like Sam's therapist, the girlfriend, Minnie's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And the third one was, I don't even remember. I don't remember the third one.
I don't even know. I know Flash died. Flash.
Yeah, the guy who tend to be the killer. Right?
Yeah, in the beginning, in the opening kill. So
yeah, but the thing is, don't you think that no one actually close and good was killed? So the next film, there won't be any emotion. Like for example, last one, Dewey died. So like, oh, Dewey died. But there's like a miss. They missed him. In this one, who are they gonna miss?
But I guess what it means now is that a lot of people could die in the next film. That's what I'm hoping for. At least I hope they make up for that. But yeah, man, that was disappointing, just the lack of deaths. You should not feel like there's no stakes in Scream, you know, especially because Scream is so well known for having shocking deaths. I mean, hell, if you look at the opening scene of Scream 1 where it killed Drew Barrymore, who was the biggest star in the film, they killed her off in the first 10 minutes. You know, it's known for that. So to be in the 6th film and not have that is very disappointing.
As much as I didn't want Gail to die, but at the same time, I think she should have. But at the same time, you know, it's like really hard because just like it's gonna be like, oh, Dewey died and then Gail died. So I don't know.
They didn't want to pull a Star Wars with it. Like Han Solo died, then Luke Skywalker died, then Leia dies. So I think we're trying to avoid that.
Of that, yeah.
And they reference that again. I think Star Wars is referenced again a lot. I think that's the main source of inspiration for the commentary in all of these new films.
Mindy also mentioned Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. Yeah, the New York setting as well. I didn't find that made that much of a difference apart from like the subway sequences and like the grocery store sequences. I felt like
it wasn't much. It wasn't as much as we expected because I think it was the fact that the killer was open out there. Yeah. That was the only thing. That's it.
That's it. But I expected a much larger scale. I actually forgot a lot of the time that they were in New York. It still sometimes felt like they were in Woodsboro.
Yeah.
You know, so that, the New York setting didn't really change much for me.
I think that's connected to the point we just mentioned with the killings because I thought New York is going to be more killings.
Yeah.
Even with the random people, it's going to be more killings. But there was actually no killings.
Yeah, it was that subverted my expectation for sure. With the lack of killings, obviously that means it's not as gory or brutal. That was something that they really promoted a lot. They were like, I remember Jenna Ortega saying, oh, this Ghostface is the most brutal it's ever been, the most violent, the most goriest.
Even the Ghostface says that in the film. I'm not like others. I'm not like other Ghostfaces. Okay, in a way he wasn't, but at the same time there was like literally to be more brutal, more gory.
Yeah, it wasn't at all, and that in itself was also very disappointing. I felt Scream 5 and Scream 4 were far more brutal than this one ever got. I think we've touched on this before as well. Another con was that too many kind of parallels to Scream 2. So for something that was trying to be fresh and new, like it promised in the beginning.
The killings, for example, revenge, taking the revenge for the family.
Yeah,
same thing. Right?
There was a lot of that, and the finale took place in the theater.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah.
I mean, it was supposed to be a shrine.
Yeah.
But it was
a theater.
It was doubling as a shrine. It was an actual theater, so there were a lot of callbacks to Scream 2 in that sense. And my brothers, I was talking to them last night about it, and they called the film a poor man's Scream 2. Don't know if I'd go that far, but I'm not such a huge fan of Scream 2 anyway.
The Ghostface Shrine? Yeah,
so as much as I loved that and enjoyed the callbacks, I felt like it was wasted in this film, especially where the film made a conscious effort to show us that this Ghostface does not care about Stab or the franchise before.
Because I think in the last one, the thing is, the shrine was Richie's in a way. It was his collection. So he was the killer in the last film. So it would have been better to do this in the last film. Yeah,
to do it there instead of going back to Stu's house. They should have done it here. It would have been a nice little celebration of what came before.
Exactly.
And if you did want to do that, like for example, they didn't do it in 5. You should have done it in the final film.
Yeah.
Because then you can celebrate the entire franchise. It would have felt more appropriate. Whereas this one, to put it in a film where the killers didn't care about Stab or Sydney or anything,
it was a great idea.
It was very conflicting.
I think so. It would have been better in the last film because that was about Richie being the killer. Yeah. And it was his collection. That's why it makes sense, more sense, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, so that was a contradiction
in a way.
Yeah, with all these kind of contradictions that we kind of, because we're saying, oh, it's subverting expectations, but at the same time making a lot of references to the past and relying on the past. What this film felt like to me, so the best way I can put it, it was very much like an unhealthy mix of The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. So, an unhealthy mix of subversion of expectation, which pisses people off, and too much fan service, which also pisses people off.
I'm impressed. That was a nice way to say it.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. That's what I felt. I was like, damn, because they're constantly referencing the Star Wars films.
They were.
So maybe that's their idea. It's very hard to critique Scream sometimes because they're intentionally doing things. So I don't know if this was their intention to do that. But yeah, I just wish it was kind of. Even I'm confused though, because I like the fact that it was going to try something new, and it hooked me in the beginning that it was going to try something new. I like that, but at the same time I also like the callbacks.
Yeah, fine if you have the callbacks, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm much like the film itself. I'm still very confused on it, which will lead us into our final thoughts. What do you feel about this?
I'm still 50-50 about this one. Okay, the film as a whole was really nice. It's like really nice to watch. It was the second time also we watched because we knew that what's going to happen now. So it wasn't disappointing to see the killer and everything. That was fine. But I think it was the second time was better. That's why. Because we knew what's going to happen. So that's why we were enjoying it more. The first time we were watching, it was just we wanted to know what's going to happen now. We were like, ooh, what's going to happen? Mystery. That leads me to the thing, there was no mystery. The film had no mystery, so I didn't like it. I like that fact. But at the same time, I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's like the rest of them, to be honest. There's no bad film in this franchise, like I mentioned. And this falls into that as well. It's still entertaining. At its worst, but it's still it's still a decent movie.
Yeah, but the fact that we had like high expectations. If you can say that, okay, it's like other movies, but the expectations were more higher, I guess.
Yeah, and that was purely because of the studio's marketing. That was the thing.
That was so good.
I think that was the film's undoing in a way. The marketing was so good and so elaborate that the film just didn't match up to it. Because this is the first time a Scream film has been marketed so hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really backfired.
That's why we mentioned before that trailers were much better than the film.
But props to whoever did the marketing, though. Geniuses.
It was really good.
But yeah, I feel like these guys are honouring Wes Craven, this director duo. I think they're honouring him very well, but they're just falling flat in the mystery aspect. I think they still haven't honed their skills in that area, writing the mystery. It was
a lazy writing, especially for the killers. It was really lazy. Okay, the characters were really strong.
The character development was fantastic.
It was fantastic,
that was great, and they did correct a lot of the mistakes from the last films, particularly with Sam. She was a lot stronger. Even though I didn't find her that bad in the last one, but...
Do you like the ending of the film?
No, I think it left a lot to be desired. I would have preferred it if she had taken Billy's mask with her rather than dropped it on the floor. That was the one thing. If because that's then hooked me for the next one. Now there's nothing really.
I think that was the scene that scene actually says a lot. It said that she's still confused. She is leading there, but she's not yet there. Because if she'll take the mask, that means she knows that's going to happen and she'll do it and she can be the killer. It would have been like more expectation for the next one then. False expectations also, because that's why they dropped the mask saying that, oh, she's still confused. She was leading there, Tara pulled her out, that's why she dropped the mask. So it says a lot, that...
Yeah, that's true.
So if she'll take the mask, then it'll be like, ooh, she's the killer next time maybe. Or she's gonna, whatever we're thinking, like her auntie. Man. That's why...
I'm so torn on this. I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
If this film was trying to make us as confused as Sam is, they did a great job. They succeeded massively.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't think that was the intention, but yeah, I guess, have you got anything else to say? I think we had a lot more pros than we did cons, actually. But I think the cons were so massive. There's less cons, but those cons are so detrimental to the film.
So I don't know where to rate this film still.
What we'll do is we'll do an entire separate video ranking the Scream films, maybe, if you'd be interested in seeing that.
I think that would be really good. That's a really good idea, because then we can rank the... Yeah, that would be... But it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. I know where to rank the rest of them. I just don't know where to put this one. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's really hard to rank it right now. Rate it right now. It's going to be so hard to rank it. Yeah. I think I'll still rank it maybe... Whoa. So we'll leave that for that video if we're going to do that. So yeah, if you guys like this video and want us to do more reviews, then yeah, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell icon so that you can get notified whenever we upload new videos. And in the comment section, let us know what kind of videos you would like to watch. Yeah, and let us know your thoughts on this film. Yeah. Where you'd also rank this. Maybe that will help us in our rankings as well when we come to do that video. Let us know if you'd like to see that video. We'll try to do a poll thing if we can. You know, try to do a poll thing on the channel. So we'll try. I think we need 1,000 subscribers for that. Oh, okay. But yeah, subscribe and then we can do that poll.